Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Out Process and Unsupervised. Today we're joined by the guys at April One, returning guest Jabulani Mason, as well as the founder and owner of April One, Troy PepIto. Troy shares a little bit about his story as a veteran who takes the leap of faith and starts his own business, shares what from the military helped him, what kind of hindered him, and what he thought was necessary in order to take that leap of faith to start his own business. We're excited to hear what he has to say. We'll be right back.
3, 2, 1, and we are live.
That's awesome. We're gonna need to clip that so it can be on the start of every episode. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Mason,
Yeah.
you've been here quite often. You're familiar with the process. Mr. Troy, first time.
Brand new.
Brand new. You've done podcasts before. You've seen podcasts before.
I have.
We're just talking, hanging out, chatting a little bit about your life. It's definitely an interesting one. But let's just start at the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
Yes, I grew up in Crystal River, which is on the Gulf Coast of Florida, about an hour north of Tampa. Lived there from 87 until 1998 when I joined the Navy. So I joined out of Tampa MEPS, left, did 20 years in the United States Navy, got out and got into the whiskey business from there. So that was my exit strategy. So long story short, that's kind of my pipeline. But while I was in, I started out as a deckhand on the USS O'Kane. I was a bosun mate, did 5 years on that ship. Then converted over to the Master at Arms world in military MP. I did that for 15 years and realized after that stint, I did not want to be a cop when I got out. So I leaned into my hobby. I was a home brewer. I enjoyed making beer and enjoyed using my hands and was like, you know what? I think this is what I'm going to do when I get out. This is what I want to be when I grow up, is be a brewer. Got into that and started learning. I was like, man, if I made tons of alcohol, tons of beer, how do I get rid of it? And I was like, well, then I kind of started down the sales path of selling alcohol, beer, wine, and spirits.
Were you selling the beer you're brewing in your house?
So I was home brewing. I was giving it away.
Allegedly.
So
Yes.
I was in Italy.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in the continental United States. So different rules apply. I was actually in Sicily when I really dove deep into my my hobby and was making stuff, and then realized that I had kegerators, I had keezers, I had like the whole mix. It was just like, it was a very large operation, but not so large. It was a big, for home brewing, it was large. And then I discovered, I was like, man, if I went to the next level, next stage of production of making beer, how do I get rid of it? As I was saying. So I was like, well, let me see how the Navy buys beer, because that's who I was going to sell to. That's my target demographic, was I'm going to sell to sailors and military people, veterans. So how do I get it into their hands legally? And so I started down that path of how did they buy, and then came across on how they did it, learned that whole process on how they procure alcohol for the exchanges. And then just one thing led to another. It actually, so when I transitioned out, there was a distillery in the States that had just got accepted their products into the Navy exchanges, but they had no idea of the landscape. So they had offered me a position when I transitioned out. They're like, hey, can you sell our bourbon and our vodkas and all our stuff to the military? We're there now. Can you help us out? And of course, I was like, heck yeah, for sure. So I kind of put my brewing passion on the back burner and went and worked for them for 5 years. COVID happened. We all know that saga. And then I had another defining turning point in my life. Was like, do I continue down the corporate path? I had a job offer from Sazerac, which owns Buffalo Trace and all those. Or do I go back out and go follow my brewing passion? And, so I was like, well, I don't have to make beer. I learned a whole lot about whiskey when I worked for the distillery. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to get into the bourbon whiskey game as a blender. I had a pretty good palate just from making beer, and understood the grains and mash bills and how all that stuff is formulated and put together to make a great product. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up where I am today.
Are they in, how many nexus are they in, like nationwide or?
So we are nationwide. We're about 30 Navy exchanges. It sells out quick in some, and it's some of the larger exchanges get a quicker reload. But yeah, about 30 exchanges. So I'm trying to push out globally.
Do you guys see more of a peak in sales during the Chief season at all?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because I knew I received, I think I spoke about it one of the last podcasts. I received a bottle from my sponsee one year, and it was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. It's so good too.
Yeah, I didn't even realize, think about it on the gifting side of things. It was kind of, I want to go back to my roots as a chief petty officer. So that's where the name came from. April One comes from our roots as a chief petty officer, which they were established April 1st, 1893. So when I was kind of doing my branding, I was like, what do I call my whiskey? And I kind of wanted to lean into that. Nice. Make whiskey for the chiefs, make whiskey for the Navy. A lot of people didn't realize, everybody's like, sailors drink rum. I was like, no, rum is for pirates and the British. Right?
Or if you're not tech.
But early back in the early 1800s, the military actually in the United States switched from rum to whiskey. They've been drinking whiskey. Sailors been drinking whiskey since the early 1800s. It was more wholesome, is what I read. I went into the history books. You can find a lot of information on that USS Constitution archives. And that's where I found all my resources on that. And I was like, yeah, you know what? There's a hole in the market here. I'm going to make whiskey. Because I had rum and done all that stuff. I was like, nah, sailors drink whiskey.
Yeah.
So
tell me a little bit about some of the, I guess, skills you acquired while you were in the Navy that helped you with that transition in a I guess, marketing and sales, because that's not something that every sailor comes out knowing how to do.
Yeah, so I was, as you go through the military, everybody takes college classes and things like that. So, yeah, so that was this marketing and sales was not in the typical Master at Arms pipeline. But I studied marketing at the Penn State and then a couple other schools. When I got out, I went to University of North Florida, Coggin School of Business, continued on with my marketing degree, studied there, and then kind of was like, hey, I got this experience, or at least I got this basic knowledge of marketing. And so I kind of leaned into that and then kind of tied it into the sales piece. So
I guess it helps too that you're pretty passionate about what you were selling, right?
Yeah.
You enjoyed it. You knew it. I mean, you're in Italy, and instead of brewing or making wine, you were brewing beer.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. There was so it was kind of during the craft beer boom that was happening at the same time. And then I had realized there was not a lot of craft beer available in Sicily.
Yeah.
So I started making it, people allotted. But then as I started making it, there was this little underground brewery world in Sicily. So there's a lot of breweries actually there in Italy. And there was conventions and they had trade shows, and I had attended those and met some people, and but it was a lot bigger than I thought. And I actually, when I was making beer, and if I couldn't make it fast enough, I actually became friends with some of the local brewery guys, and I was able to buy kegs from them and bring their product on to the base where I was at and kind of introduce their stuff to Americans. And they're like, oh, wow, there's a whole part of that whole craft boom going on with the beer. So yeah, it was fun. It was really, man, yeah, you say passion. It was just like, hey, cool, this is cool. And the more stuff got cooler, and it got cooler and cooler. So
all those businesses that you were talking about, those underground ones, they're all licensed, right?
Yeah, they're all licensed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I say underground as like they are like not legal, but they're all legal breweries. And but you had to go off the beaten path to find them because they were in their farmhouses. It's like, oh my gosh, like where am I going? Went to, it was called 24 Baroni was the name. And they had these fantastic beers, and they served them they looked in wine bottles, but they were the fat wine bottles, and they corked them. I was like, this is beer? And you pour it out, and it was so fresh. It was so good. All the ingredients they used, it was just like, and then they brought me in, and it was like, oh, let me see how you make this. They entered, and we showed up, and they opened up this barn door, and it's like, oh, there's a brewery in here. Oh, cow, yeah. Awesome. So I would say, when I say underground, it was like, there wasn't a sign on the front posting anything like that. So it was behind the scenes stuff.
That's pretty dope, though. You took your skills that you learned before you even got there, and then got to learn off of them too a little bit.
Correct,
so
yeah.
It's like
and how they make it, they're like the grains they use, and how they make their flavors and fruits and all that stuff.
You got some old school tradition in your recipe.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. So
real.
it was fun and it just kept getting better. It was like, this is just getting better and better and better. And then next thing you know, there's another guy. And then this guy found out I had an import license and they're like, hey, take me to America. I was like,
Some more paperwork involved with that one.
yeah, there's a little bit more going on. So I actually, from there, I started an import business called P&M Beverage Imports. So I did bring in beer and wine into the United States. And then I kind of had, this was all while I was on active duty when I started, because I knew I was transitioning out. So I was working. So I didn't get the brewery going, but I got a sales channel going. And then I hit the United States and didn't realize the alcohol laws are how it's a spaghetti. It's a mess, 50 different states, 50 different laws on how to sell alcohol. And I was just like, so everything came to a screeching halt on that point. And it was like, all right, when we figure it out. And then I got the distillery job offers where I was like, oh, okay, this seems like fate a little bit. So
how did you guys meet?
Oh, so that's a funny story. So, like I said last time, I was getting ready to retire and needed a shadow box. So I wanted to make it out of a bourbon barrel. And Troy and I had met briefly while he was working for the other company. And we just talked whiskey, bought some stuff. And my girlfriend, we were sitting there talking, and I was like, well, how do I get a bourbon barrel? So she reached out to them, and their rep in Jacksonville happened to be Troy.
Yeah.
So
the distillery I work for.
Yeah. So she went and picked up this barrel. We went, got it done up real nice, and then he came to my retirement, and then we all kind of looked at each other and was like, wait, I know you, you know me. Mm-hmm. And then he gave me his vision on April 1, come to find out our kids all go to school together. We're neighbors.
Yeah, right down the street.
And he was like, hey, I'm getting ready to launch this thing, but I need to get the name out. I need to get the word out. And I was like, well, I've got a pretty good palate for whiskey and a pretty large network of people.
Yeah, I was at his retirement ceremony. It's probably one of the largest ones I've been to. I was like, man, you know a lot of people.
Yeah. So I said, well, I got a skill and I have an interest in getting in on this. So he kind of put me through my paces, didn't even really know I was getting interviewed, but he watched from afar and said, all right, and then, fast forward to now, what is it, 4 years? 4 years later, brought me into the fold, and I'm still learning a lot, but every day is a training day with him. It's great, but proud to stand behind a great product.
That's what's up. You said that SkillBridge, you guys got a sailor or two? You got a sailor or two with your SkillBridge program, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you talk on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Department of War has this program called the SkillBridge, and what it is a transitioning platform. While service members still on active duty, they can go find work and start the process of building their resume for when they transition out. They don't have to be retired. They can just have done 4 years, 6 years, and go through the program. So we got accepted through the Department of War SkillBridge program for sales and marketing. So anybody, and we thought it was something different, because as we were going through and I'm looking at it, it's all these technical jobs, right? There's all this other stuff, and you don't really, and when I was coming out, I was like, man, there's nothing like this. There's no sales and marketing type of jobs. So we signed up and we got approved with them, and we did that last year, but we weren't quite ready to launch it. But this year we launched it January 1st, and we've had a huge amount of applications come in. We were actually kind of getting them toward the end of the year after we signed up. It was pretty organic, and it was like, okay, we need to launch this thing. So we launched it this year. We got our first 2 applicants. They're out on the streets right now working. So we bring them in, do some classroom stuff with them, kind of talk them. They know zero about the alcohol industry. It's not, they're going from consumer now to an actual, the business side of things and learning it. So we teach them about all the categories of the business, some sales stuff, some marketing stuff, and then they get hands-on experience. So I went out with them. We show them around what it looks like, how to navigate a Total Wine. I would take them into Total Wine and said, all right, so now you're not trying to buy a product, but you're trying to figure out where you fit in amongst a sea of competitors. And so you go in and you kind of talk about it. And when you go through, I said, look at the discounts, look at the pricing, look at the marketing material that they're using to attract a customer to come in to buy their product. And so we kind of instill that kind of vision now instead of you going in there. It's like, all right, I need to find a whiskey. All right, what do I want to get? Now it's like, oh, how do I now navigate a shelf placement? Do I need to be on the top shelf? Do I need to be on the bottom shelf? How do I get a floor space in a store like this? Take them over to the Navy Exchange. That's our primary retail partner of the exchange. So taking them over there and say, hey, look at the different branding between all these big box stores. Like Total Wine has got everything, but then you go into the military exchanges and like, oh, what is their brand? So even between AFIS, Navy Exchange, Coast Guard, they're separate brands, even though they're still military. And we kind of put that into their minds, and they're set for learning and education part of the transition. So hopefully by the time they're done, we'll find them job placement. Either we'll retain them, or B, if we don't have a position for them on the team, then we will help them find placement within the beverage industry. So we have some wholesalers, even whether it's retailer side or on the wholesale side, we'll help. And actually one of the guys right now, he's a culinary specialist in the Navy, and going around through all the restaurant groups on doing the sales and marketing stuff, he was actually offered a position. So what was nice was like, oh, you know how to run a kitchen, even though it was outside of the sales and marketing of the alcohol, but it's still based upon his job set that he did in the military. And I was like, that's a win for me. I go, that's the whole point of the veteran transition, is to find job placement for guys that would not be looking in certain places.
So while they're in that SkillBridge, they're still employed by the military.
The government still pays them.
And are they have to still report and do everything the same?
So yes and no. Okay. But so they get temporary assigned duties. So they come TAD to us. When we got on the program, we had to submit a training plan to the Department of War and say, hey, they're not just coming here, they're not messing around. This is the pipeline that they're going to follow. They're going to learn this stuff, and then hopefully transition out into this pipeline. At least in sales and marketing, they'll have at least a good understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, that's amazing. So they came to your SkillBridge, just to summarize it, for April 1, and then they got a job offer somewhere else. Just like you said, that's just veterans helping veterans.
Yeah, and it's just networking. Amazing. Yeah, because it was kind of really getting them out of their comfort zone of not networking to now networking. Because I don't think we really start networking in the Navy world until you become a chief.
At least, probably at first class,
senior first class, chief level,
first class, chief level. You really get like how important networking really is, and being able to like walk into a room,
be comfortable,
people, that you don't know, you need something, and being able to like just reach out and say,
striking up a conversation,
and then from there you find out all the things that you have in common, or things that you guys can help each other with.
Maybe you vibe together, you don't vibe, and it's just kind of one of those things. So
but I think it's also cool that we're offering that too, because a lot of times when you're transitioning out, you get locked into like what you're doing in the Navy, and obviously the first place that you look is what you know, but this gives everybody like an opportunity to see that, even though like I was a aircraft mechanic, he was a master at arms, you can still take those skills that you have in your toolbox and apply them into a different industry.
Even if it's not a helicopter or a front gate or security, it's like you apply it to as soon as you get out, pretty much, it feels like. But
now you've been in the veteran-owned business space for quite a while now.
About a decade now.
What do you think veteran entrepreneurs get right that civilians often miss?
Ooh, what do we get right? I wouldn't even say we get right. I think we get a lot of things wrong. And we learn. And I think we learn a lot from those wrongs to make the right. And I think the big thing about in the military is we learn, if we mess up, we learn that we messed up, and then it's okay to keep going. And then you you just get better off of it from your mistakes. We try not to make too big of mistakes, because there's some mistakes that you could do in the military that get people killed, but you try to, there's a lot of training involved, and there's a lot of that. So I think the forward thinking piece of the pie helps out veterans that get into business. So they're like, okay, so if I do A, what's going to happen B, C, and D later down the line? So you get we're kind of trained to think ahead. So I think that is a positive thing. A lot of folks do right in becoming an entrepreneur, is forward thinking on where they want to be. The visionaries.
So you knew this was coming, but what are some of the things veterans do wrong?
They don't educate themselves. There's a lot of things that veterans will jump into it and start doing it, and like, I'll figure it out. There is a little piece of the pie where you can do some more research than versus just jumping into it right along. And that goes in place with the networking piece, like talking to people. So that was that led to some of my success before I made a decision, was talking to somebody who had done it before. Taking that information and just creating more tools for my tool belt on being able to navigate where to go. So I reached out to some people. There was a network that I found on the internet. I was able to have some conversations with folks and be like, okay, they're like, you don't do that. I was like, oh, because I would tell them, say, hey, this is my thoughts. And they're like, that's, you're immediately going to run into a brick wall. So I would say educate yourselves, whether it's meeting with other people that are in the industry, reading, cracking a book, go get a library card and open a book. The internet, there's a lot of stuff on the internet will steer you wrong because it might have worked for some person, but didn't work for another. But it's a good thing to keep up. But I could just say, hey, educate yourself.
I want to add something to that too. Like, I think when we're in the military, we get a mentor, right? But then, and they steer you on the way to go. So if you want to get into anything on the outside, the biggest thing for you is to get a mentor. Yeah. Because Troy is my mentor right now, right? So like, I came to him and I said, hey, this is something that I have a great deal of interest in, and I'd like to learn as much as I can. I want to get in this business with you. What do I need to do to get in here and be successful? And I am on Troy's,
holding his pocket.
I'm basically,
yeah. Holding his pocket.
I'm holding
just
his
for
pocket,
now. Just for now.
I mean, I do, but I do.
You're gonna get your own pocket.
Because like
actually, you give your own pocket out a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, really, the only way to truly be successful is to learn from the people who are doing it right, and doing it well.
That's right.
And just because you leave the military, you still need that mentor. You still need that person who's like, I've got a great idea, but I don't know how to put it into play. And they come here, young grasshopper.
Yeah. And it might not even be the fact that Mace knows exactly, but he has enough experience to maybe give some insights to an idea that will help project it in the right way. Because you might be trying to work on NASCARs or something like that. And Mace be like, well, I know this, April One, we're sponsored with this guy, and this guy knows the NASCAR company. So who knows?
A couple NASCAR guys.
Yeah.
There's some junior racers out there that are in the NASCAR circuit. I would say in the military, there's a vast people who have their interests, and they go down those pipelines. So I've had a couple NASCAR dudes go, hey, you want to sponsor my car? I go, yeah, send me their deck. And then it's like, ooh, yeah. I said, those are definitely NASCAR prices.
We were dabbling once, and we were looking ourselves, and yeah, they are definitely expensive.
Yeah.
They're $200,000 for like one race.
Yeah.
I read something like that.
It's really high because, Cadillac just put in the new Formula One. I was like, how do I get on the Cadillac car? You're like, well, we got to add we got to sell some more whiskey.
But that's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming. That's some good stuff. It's already out there.
Yeah, I think you guys touched on something that is definitely an advantage to more vets than just normal civilians, is that ability to ask for help, right? Yeah. I think knowing when you don't know what you don't know is like, oh, let me go find someone who does. It's kind of ingrained in you guys too. So what would you tell a vet right now who's kind of where you were maybe 10 years ago, sitting on an idea they have for a business, and they just haven't pulled the trigger on it?
Oh, so if they're sitting on there ready to pull the trigger on a business, I would tell them to go. It's like, hey, look at your finance situation. Can you afford to go down this path right now? That was one of the decisions that I had looked. That was one of the big decisions, was like, okay, I'm living on my retirement pay when I start this, because I had a job. Now I'm getting rid of that job to go 100% into April 1. And it's like, all right, when are you going to be able to get paid from the efforts of the sales and all that stuff, and how long can you go? So I would look at your financial situation and seeing, it's like, all right, if I pull this trigger and get ready to go, and for me, my trigger was buying my first 4 barrels. It was like, if I buy these first 4 barrels, there's no turning back. And so I had to look at my finances, because that took a hit in my savings, because I bootstrapped it right off the front. I didn't have an SBA loan. I didn't have any of that other stuff. But those options are out there. So I was like, well, how are you going to finance or fund your first phase of starting the business when you pull the trigger to go? And mine was my first production run. And I could be sitting, I said, you could be, I being in the industry, I knew I could be sitting on that product for 6, 7, 8 months. And well, how am I going to survive? I got a family, kids, and am I able to survive on just my military benefits alone. And so the answer was yes. It's like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit out of my savings. I'm going to get these first 4 barrels going. And it went gangbusters. So it was gone in a day. So happily I wasn't sitting on it for 6 months. And I was a good thing. It was like, okay, we have proof of concept here and we were able to move forward.
The good thing is you were forward thinking enough that you didn't need to forward think at that moment.
Correct. Yes. Because I say, worst comes to worst, I turn this thing on the internet and I've already jumped all this money into it and it goes into a flop. Because all of a sudden it could be like, wah, wah. Yeah. That's like, you're just like, So it was kind of the gamble there. It's like, are you ready to roll the dice and win? Because I've known people in the industry that have, and it's just like they've made it pretty significant distance with it, and the market turns. And right now, whiskey sales they're doing well, but they're not gangbusters like it was. Everybody was out there hawking and hoarding all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of leveled out. I guess we call it the post-COVID pantry load. The market's still going up. There's a lot of stuff, but it's not the hockey stick effect like it was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So finances, look at your finances before you pull the trigger.
How helpful was your VA disability benefits did it help sway the needle at all? If you just had
because I was getting the benefits. I'm still living off them. I'm not paying myself yet on it. So those benefits have weighed tremendously on helping me start this business and educating others on it. So my regular retirement, and then I have my disability stuff that goes in line with it. So that's helped out a lot.
Yeah. And it definitely helps when you know you have something coming in. It's like, all right, I can take this leap of faith and it'll be fine.
Correct. Right? Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm getting a paycheck. I know I'm getting a couple checks on the first of every month. So if this does flop, I'll have some time to be able to go out and find a new job if I need to and put this down and I can recover. Versus if I was not getting my benefits or had done my 20 years, I probably wouldn't have started this business. It would have been one of those things. It's like, man, no, I don't have that comfort zone. I don't have that security blanket. So.
Yeah. Something we do on the show, I know you didn't touch too much on your military past, but I grew up in San Diego around a lot of sailors. And they all have some crazy stories.
You want a San Diego story?
Sure, I love a San Diego story.
I was like, I got a Hawaii story, I got a San Diego story, I got a Virginia story. Since you brought up San Diego, so San Diego was my first boots on ground outside of boot camp. So I went to boot in Chicago, Illinois, and then I got my orders, and I had to go to firefighting school and aircraft firefighting in San Diego off of 32nd Street on the dry side. 18-year-old me out of boot camp, young guy, free to the world, and linked up with a bunch of friends there. And first place they took me, Tijuana.
TJ.
So TJ, and I had an eye-opening experience without traveling international. It was 1999 when I had done that, and that was an eye-opening experience. So it's TJ. It's like, I'm probably not going to get into deep dips of some conversations, but there was a late nights.
Border crossings?
Border crossing, yeah. So there was a late night border crossing and coming back. All legal.
Did you drink the worm?
Yes, I probably did the worm. But yeah, so that was a good, fun experience of coming in. But the TJ, we'll let the audience's minds wonder on what happened down in Tijuana, but we'll keep it at that. But yeah, so young 18-year-old.
Okay. I'm kind of curious what the Hawaii story is too. I spent some time out there.
So Hawaii, yeah. So
pretty good stations. So.
Yeah. So actually it was part of the same tour was I was on a pre-com. So USS O'Kane was a brand new ship being built in Bath, Maine. So they sent me to California first to do some schooling, and then they flew me to Bath, Maine to pick up the ship where it was being built. So it was already in the water. I was only there for a few months before it got underway. And then we sailed the ship from Bath, Maine to all the way to Hawaii. So we got to go down through the Caribbean. We were independent steaming, went from country to country, all the way through the Caribbean, through the Panama Canal, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas. But I had already been a TJ, so I was experienced. I was an experienced sailor by then. And then we went out to Hawaii. So I was out to Hawaii for the remainder of my stint there. But again, it was Hawaii, and I'm 19 years old. And met a lot of guys. I feel like I need to not know. So I was like, well, relieve the name. I was like, I'm trying to go through my head right now. I got a lot of different stories in my head, but we'll keep it PG. But we had, so I say we got a range of stories from PG to PG-13 to rated R.
X.
There's a couple of those in there too. So, but I'll keep it PG. It was great going out and learning a lot on those. Hawaii, I learned that a lot of the local guys, the Howleys, they started calling me Howley. I was like, I'm half a Howley. I was like, I'm part Filipino. So, and then I got a job when I was out there working for Morale, Welfare, and Recreation. One of the local guys, he was like, "Oh, you Filipino, brah," and I was like, "Yeah, you know." And so then they opened up their arms a little bit, and it was kind of a whole new culture shock. Was really what it big was going out to Hawaii, because I lived in Florida, so Crystal River, Florida. To Hawaii and learning about the Samoan culture and the Chamorro culture in Guam and things like that. So that was a great experience for me.
Didn't you and Jenny get married?
We did. I met my wife there. Yeah. So 25 years.
Let's remember this.
So I got married. All right. Well,
Best
married there.
Best time of my life.
Oh, yeah. Best time of my life. I got married. So yeah, I got married. I met my wife, and we're still married today. So 25 years later, her and I grew up in the military together as a dependent. So that's the big story out of all the stories I could tell.
Hey man.
So she's watching. Yes, babe.
Yes. We love you, Jenny.
Is she from Guam?
No, she's from Indiana.
Oh, okay.
And she came out to Hawaii to visit a friend that I was stationed with, and that's how we met.
Got it.
She then, we weren't even dating very long, and then she moved out there and started going to so she went to Hawaii Pacific University.
Oh, okay.
She ended up getting her degree there, and then we left, and we ended up going to Virginia Beach. And so she just started her career she was a business major. So that was probably my biggest win in the Navy was finding my wife, who we are still together. It was, going through the whole military and staying together is, that's awesome. A unicorn story. That's, I would say that would be a unicorn story. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we know a handful of folks that make it right to the end, right to the end with their spouse. And then the last year they're in, or the last year they got out, they got divorced. I'm like, man, that's got to be tough. That has got to be tough for folks like that.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I've heard lots of stories where they made it so long and then they retire and they get out, and then I guess they're just because they don't deploy enough now. And they're home all the time. The husband's home all the time. And
it's like, the wife all day long.
On your nerves.
The nerves are starting. But
wife's like, aren't you supposed to do something? Like go somewhere? Like, time's done. I don't go.
Yeah. So that kind of helped me out too, working for a vet. So the distillery that I had worked for was veteran owned. And so that helped me with my transition, was because I worked with the military. I wasn't working for the military. And so that definitely was nice to be able to kind of stay in that camaraderie with everybody and stay in the know, the talks, the conversations were the same. Because when I got out and I had talked to my civilian counterparts about some stuff, it was just like conversation was completely different. The camaraderie was just like a little bit more learning curve when dealing with us military folks.
But Jason, he's military though.
I just
military
grew up around
family,
it.
So you were around it, so you kind of knew. I mean, we're definitely outspoken individuals, and we're not afraid.
Yeah,
and we're trained that way to not be afraid. It's just like, go shake a hand.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I remember I just found out. So across the street, some neighbors moved in, and it was her husband was deployed. So like, let's help. My mom's like, yeah, go help these. I was like, okay, I'll mow your lawn. So I was mowing her lawn. Really nice lady. Found out just recently that so I knew her husband was in the SEAL teams, but her husband actually was part of the SEAL Team 6 and helped plan the Osama bin Laden. And I was like, dude, if I messed up his lawn, this would why didn't no one tell me this? I was like 30. I was like 13. What?
Yeah. You're going to wake up in the morning in a concrete box looking at a one-way mirror.
Or two-way mirror. Tree.
Yeah.
So I definitely learned how to behave around military people.
Yeah, I guess we have that aggressive personality of the civilian. They're pretty, cool, calm, and collected, but we're very outspoken. We're like, hey, we're very quick to get out there and lend a hand, for sure. It's like we're the ones running toward the fire, not away from it.
For sure. So talking a little bit about your whiskey, what's your go-to way to drink April One?
Oh, my go-to way is proper way to drink April One is pop the cork and take your first pull right out the neck. That's how I normally do it. But
I mean, yeah. What do you need a glass for?
What do you need a glass for? Pop, it's that good. But if you're sharing, obviously, I mean, it's 101 proof. There's no germs living on the.
That's our cash strength.
So this is our cash strength. Yeah. So I like to taste whiskey neat first because I want to taste it in its raw form. Perfectly out of the barrel first to see what it tastes like. If I can't, I can get somewhere close to it. But I want to know what it tastes like without water added to it. And then we start adding water to it. I can either do some drops or I'll just put an ice cube in there, something small, not a big one. And then taste it as it's diluting. So maybe a whiskey I'll enjoy on the rocks, maybe one I'll like neat because one might be really sweet. I was like, oh, I like it like this. Or once I get through the neat, I get through the rock piece of it, then I'm like, if I don't like either one, I said, well, I hope I like it in a cocktail. Yeah, I said, I'll put it in a cocktail. So we'll put it in old fashioned. So if I like it in the old fashioned, it's like, oh, great, this whiskey makes a great cocktail. And if it doesn't doesn't taste good, I was like, normally it doesn't make it to the cocktail. If it, I would say.
It may get turned into a sauce.
Yeah, so if it doesn't make it past the neat part, so it's I drink it in phases. Like if it makes it past the neat, it's like okay, let me try it on the rocks. Okay, let me try it in a cocktail. But normally, if it doesn't get to the neat piece, and I'm like, and I'll be snobby about it. Yeah,
that's like each barrel you got to do that with, right? Or is that each bottle?
So no, it depends on if it's somebody's new, somebody else's brand out there that I'm tasting. I'll try it. The single barrels are nice because it's just one single barrel. Some other brands, there's a lot of blending together. So maybe they're blend like Bardstown is, man, they have so many different types of mash bills, and it's what they do is make a lot of blends. So we'll taste that, and what's the nicest because being able to taste it before it's blended is something else. I'll find out what the mash bill is on somebody's product and say, oh, let me try that. And then I can say, hey, can I get those barrels? If it's really good, I was like, man, maybe I want to make my own blend with that stuff. And that's how I found out with the wheated barrels that I have right now. We got them from another distillery. We don't have a wheat in our portfolio. I was like, man, I tasted them. They were so good. I was like, all right, maybe I'm going to blend these with something and see how it comes out. And I've had some older whiskeys offered to me, some scotch. The whole back end of the bourbon world is like, all right, let me see what I can compile and what I can blend. But I start out with it neat.
So you talked about a bad whiskey and you don't have to name names as to what you think is a bad whiskey, but what makes it bad?
I mean, it's all in the eyes of the beholder. So I would say the palate, because everybody has different palates. Some people love IPA, some people like stout, but it's the same thing with the whiskey is like, maybe I like a wheated whiskey. Or I like a high rye, which this is a high rye, it's 21%. Or a full rye, which we have, is 100%. It just all depends. And what really, for me, I don't like a lot of oak. I'm not a fan of Canadian whiskey. I'll drink some Canadian whiskey and it's just immediately, I don't like it. Some people love it. But that's my turn off is that somebody offered, but I will give it a shot because I was like, all right, you know what, before I judge it, I'm going to try it. It's like, I got the 2-bite rule, it's like when your mom was like, you better eat that. I was like, I don't want no. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot too. I'll give it a sip, try it. And then typically a lot of oak is, I kind of turn off on it, in Canadian whiskeys.
And sometimes you just got to let it sit.
Yeah.
You might, I've opened plenty of bottles where I was like, that first sip, we're like, all right. Once you got your palate ready, you take that second sip, and then you're like, I don't think it's ready. You can throw it in the back of the cabinet for 6 months, and try it again. And your taste buds might change. You might like it then. I prefer a wheated.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I like wheat. It's really soft, really sweet.
Yeah. Americans' palate, sweet.
Yeah.
America loves sweet. How do you drink your coffee? People are like, how do you drink your coffee? I was like, I drink
my
mine
coffee black.
Yeah, I drink mine black. So I got the more bitter, so I'm more tolerant to some of the bitters. But most people typically add cream and sugar to their coffees. And that it's how your palate, develops.
I mean, some of mine I like the chocolate, ones that have like a darker chocolate, darker fruit notes. The
cigar, the tobacco.
I'm a big fan of like sweet chocolate, dark chocolate, coffee beans.
I don't know why we talk a mess about Canadian whiskey. My mother-in-law, she used to love her some Canadian Mist, bro. In that plastic bottle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
About?
We listen and we don't judge.
Yeah, I'm not saying it is bad Canadian whiskey. It's just not for me. Like
I may have a counterpart who is a huge fan of Crown Royal, but I mean, you know, I don't judge.
Yeah, no, I saw people's got their own palates, right? That's what we was just talking about.
Flavored whiskeys and peanut butter stuff. I'm just like, but I've actually come impartially now. I had a buddy who loves it. And my dad loves Fireball, so the cinnamon stuff. And I'm like,
I've had that since college.
Yeah. So I don't drink it often, but I've kind of developed a little bit for Fireball, the spiciness. So it's like, oh, okay. It's like a fun whiskey for me. It's like, all right.
His dad and I have like the same, our favorite daily pours, Wild Turkey 101.
Yeah.
Troy hates it.
That's where the 101 came. That's where the 101 came from on ours. Because, well, what do we proof it to? Because you get down to that 100, 101, 102 proof. I was like, we're going to do 101. My dad loves his whiskey at 101. So that's where that 101 came from on our small batch. Nice. So that number. And then this one was cash strength. It's the same mash bills as our small batch. I wanted people to be able to experience it, what it tastes like coming out of the barrel versus what it tastes like coming out of the barrel proof down. So it's like, okay, I want to chase it's being the same mash bill. So we're very open about it. I say, hey, look, yeah, this is the same mash bill, but this is not proof. You can see, so there's definitely a whole lot more alcohol forward on it.
Yeah.
And then we did a 100% rye. I had access to some of those, and we proofed that down. It was way too spicy when I was tasting it. It was what it was out of the barrels like 123 or something like
124, and then it's because I don't like rye, and then I was like, but it had really good flavor. It did, you know, and we were working together, and I kind of started playing with some water, and I slid it over and was like, Troy, I think we're here.
And which is nice because we were doing this up at Bardstown, and they have the lab up there. So when we're creating the recipe, it was like, all right, let's try the proofs. Let's see what it goes down to. They were able to put the formula together for us, and we could taste it right then. And they were like, all right, that's the formula. Let's send that to production.
Talk me through the process. What does it look like start to finish? I know you guys were just talking about like you kind of combine the barrels or
we married. So the small batch, we take 4 barrels, we marry them together, and we blend it down to 101 on that blend. There's other
things. And then
things.
When you have it, you blend it in a barrel up there.
It goes into a big vat.
Okay.
And then we proof it down into that big vat. And then that's what that one's. The same thing with 100% rye. I have not gotten into blending different styles of whiskeys yet, but I've played around with it. It was like, all right, let me take this 100% rye and take some wheat and take another one and put it together. So I've done that on very small scale, but I have not sent anything to production because it's all been trial and error. It's like, let me try this. It's like, if I didn't like it, I don't think a lot of other people would like it either. Lots of times I've done it and it's really, really spicy. You're just like, oh, this is really hot. It's like, so you got to kind of mix around. Bardstown, and I don't have full access like that, trying to get all these barrels, and it's like, I have to pay for them first. It's like, all right.
How much is a barrel?
It depends on the age. To the consumer, a full barrel runs around between $10,000 and $13,000, all packaged up, ready to go.
What does that mean, packaged up, ready?
So like this in the bottle,
in the case,
labels, and
as
everything.
It comes right there to you.
Yeah. So
off the shelf.
Yeah.
So you don't get the actual barrel, or
you can if you want it. Yeah, we can send it to you. Most people don't. Some people do because it's like, what do I do with this barrel?
Yeah.
One person gets it, but most people buy a whole barrel as a group because it is so expensive. You'll get like maybe 10 or 15 folks will get together and say, oh, I'll buy a case, and they all chip in on the barrel.
And how many bottles does a barrel produce?
Again, on the age. So let's say 35 cases, 6-packs out of a younger whiskey. If you want an older one, it can get down to 20. But as whiskey gets older, it becomes more rare. And that's where bottles become more expensive. It's like, so if I had a 30-year whiskey, you're just like, how many cases am I going to get out of that? Maybe 15 cases out of that one barrel.
Because as the barrel sits, it absorbs and it evaporates.
Yeah, the angels and the
take
devil
their share, and the devil gets his cut.
Yep. Yeah, so the devil means it goes into the wood, is what you lost in the absorption, but then the angels, you get what gets evaporated into there.
Yeah. So if you think about if you had a barrel of whiskey that's been sitting for 20 years, each year a little more evaporate.
Yeah, you lose a certain
little
percentage.
More,
and
until,
that's where you're at in the country too. Depends on how fast it dissipates
sure.
out of the barrel. So
makes sense.
Kentucky is more of the mecca of the aging of it. If you taste whiskeys around the coastlines, of what I've noticed, they're a little bit bolder, and I feel like the alcohol is higher on the, like here in Florida, is definitely going to taste different than in Kentucky. So if you go to St. Augustine Distillery and you chase their whiskeys, you'll be able to taste the difference between aged here in Florida versus aged in Kentucky, even going out to the West Coast, which are those distilleries. But I find that the West or the coastline aged barrels are definitely darker and bolder. And I think the humidity is really, with the contraction of the wood, really draws that whiskey into that versus it dissipating. So
that's cool. That is cool.
So
We'll wrap it up here pretty soon, but you said you're Filipino.
yes, half. My
Mom or
father.
dad?
My father.
Your dad, he's the one who's also drinking the whiskey?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a whiskey drinker. So
Was he also a chief in the Navy?
he was not. He did the Navy. He was a corpsman, so he was following the line of the nurses in the Filipino world. He went that route and stayed.
No, it's just so true.
I just heard that yesterday from somebody else.
But yeah, so he was a corpsman, got out and stayed in the medical field, and he went on the administrative side versus the nursing side.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. I was going to tell you should do a Filipino branded one for Filipino Independence Day.
So I do have one in the back. It's on deck. It's going to follow the heritage, because my grandfather was military Filipino, and he fought with MacArthur in the 1st Filipino Regiment.
Oh, wow.
And that's how we got in. I was going to do a label for that,
That'd be awesome.
staying within the military roots of the branding of Genuine Spirit Company. And our heritage as a Filipino was the 1st Filipino, and he was part of that and landed with MacArthur on the beach there in the Filipino independence, stuff like that. I was like, so I think we might do that label soon.
Yeah, and there's plenty of Filipino chiefs. I just met with one in Jacksonville too. Then
there are a lot.
He told me about the mafia. He just told me about
The mafia.
Yeah, so I was only partly brought into the Filipino mafia. They made me sit at the kids' table. Like we accept you, but you got to sit with all the kids.
He wasn't made. He was an associate.
Yeah, correct. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You got anything else?
No.
No. Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It was
No.
fun.
The knowledge is.
Next time we need to bring some glasses and we can share and drink. while we're
Let's do it. That was cool. I'd love to hear more stories too about your time in Hawaii, some of the PG-13, maybe even some of the R stuff.
Maybe some of the R stuff.
Maybe
I don't know. I'm looking at this. I'm like, all right, if my lawyer was sitting here right now, what would I say or not say?
No, they run another podcast here called Allegedly, so we just have to put allegedly before everything you say, right?
I got a lot of allegedlys too.
Yeah, as long as nothing's proven, right? All right, well, I appreciate it, y'all.
Well, thanks guys for having us. Appreciate it. Well, cheers.
Yeah, y'all have a good one.